Okay, welcome back to the next part of the video. Let me unpause Orbiter here. In the last video, we brought the XR2 up off the landing pad at Brighton Beach, got it into orbit, took care of our basic orbital maintenance, getting the plane aligned, getting the orbit circular. Then we brought the vessel over to the eject point and completed the burn. So we're now on our way back to Earth, and our goal is to arrive at Earth already in plane with the ISS, but we want to use the atmosphere of the Earth as a break so that we're not spending, the 3,000 plus worth of delta V that we would normally spend in order to do a braking burn at Earth. We've got a little bit of time warp here to do, so let's get on it. We'll have to 100x here as we
rotation
pull away from the moon. And we'll go to 1,000. It's amazing I can't ever find the Earth as I'm leaving the moon. What we want to do, though, is we want to fast forward time until the stage ends here. And that usually happens when you're something like 1 day and 9 hours out, something like that. Basically when the moon's gravitational influence drops to 0.01, 0.02, something like that. We're getting pretty close to that point. So let's bring TransX up on that side. And we're just going to wait for the stage to update. And I believe it just updated. Yeah. Okay, so now TransX is showing us that, our green line here coming back to Earth looks more like that. So you can see it's already dropped from way out here to down here. And I'm pretty sure it's going to continue to drop. So that's why, I wanted to err on the high side, just because unfortunately the TransX MFD isn't reliable enough to put your target altitude exactly where you want it and have it hold all the way there. It just isn't reliable enough. Let me see if I can change the view. Yeah, we can see we're here. We still got a long way to fall. And let me also check graph projection. Oh, now I can have focus up, and I just think focus will make for a nicer view here. I'm going to reference the Earth in a line plane. And we're eventually trying to get to the ISS. So the most fuel efficient time to do any mid-course correction that I'm going to need to do for getting into plane with the ISS is going to be when my velocity is as low as possible, and that should be basically now. If I bring up orbit MFD and reference Earth and then copy that information over to the HUD, I can see that my orbital speed, as you know, relative to Earth is 426 meters per second. So that's a very low orbital velocity. I'm 301,000 seconds away from periapsis. At this orbital velocity, we can actually calculate what our fuel cost would be to do this aligned plane. Again, this is the formula that Dimitri told me about. You take your relative inclination, which in this case is 11.26, and we divide that by 2, and that gives us 5.63. Then we just press SIN on our scientific calculator. That gives us this number. And we take that times 2, which gives us this number, and then we multiply that number times our orbital velocity, which in this case is 426.5, that's meters per second. Hit enter, and this plane change is going to cost us 83.68 delta V, or maybe 84 delta V. That's pretty good, because if we did this plane change, this much of a plane change when we were around the Earth, then instead of an 84 delta V, we can figure out that it would be let's go with 7,800 as the usual orbital altitude or orbital velocity at Earth. So instead of 84 delta V, it would be 1,531.77, or almost 1,532. So we're definitely, you know, way better off doing that type of a plane change while we're still out here way away from the Earth. Now TransX is showing me that my orbital altitude is here by the time I get back to Earth, but it's still going to fall a lot. I just don't know by how much. So I don't know if I should try to do any type of correction on that, or if I should just leave that where it's at. I'm kind of thinking I should probably push it out a little bit more. But at any rate, let me start with the plane change. And it should be I'm wanting to say it should be positive plane change. Yeah. Let me just see if TransX agrees. It'll be interesting. Okay, and as I'm putting in a little bit of plane change, that's pushing my orbital altitude out. It's actually the desired effect here. I'm just trying to see how much plane change TransX thinks I need. Just bear with me one moment. I'll tell you what I'm looking for if I find it. See, that's actually what I'm looking for, but it seems to me like that's backwards. And now let me explain what I'm thinking here. Okay, so according to Align Plane MFD, I'm coming up near the descending node. So my plane change is going to be orbit plus. And I'm actually pointing almost in the right direction right now. So orbit plus is, you know, is up. It's positive. So as I add in the plane change here, I'm expecting to see the align. I'm expecting to see things change drastically or somewhat drastically when I get close to that number that I calculated, which was 84 meters per second. But basically nothing's happening here in transx. You know, nothing's significant's happening. But if I reset and I go the other way with it, look at that. When I get close to that 84 number that I figured out here, now this is looking more like I'm in plane with the ISS, but this burn seems backwards to me. It's a little odd. So what I'm going to do is just a quick test burn here. And that's orbit plus. You know what it might be though? I'm assuming that I've made this mistake before. This is assuming that I'm doing the burn relative to the Earth. And transx is not making that assumption. Transx is probably assuming relative to the Sun at this point, because that's the strongest gravitational influence. So let me test something. Sun, HUD.
Rotation.
Nope, that's not the case. Alright, I see. It's just backwards. It's weird. Look. Okay, so if I reference the Earth, copy that information to the HUD, you can see where I'm pointing. I'm pointing orbit plus. I can't actually press the orbit plus button because the Sun's the strongest gravity. Currently, this is red. If I push orbit plus, it's going to orient me relative to the Sun. But here's the thing. Transx, or rather, Align Plane MFD, you know, says that, you know, I'm coming up to the descending node, so I would expect to be orbit plus, but I am aligned correctly according to transx. That just seems backwards to me. I don't know if you can understand what's going on in my head, but when I look at the maneuver, this says change plane minus 84. I would expect to be orbit minus in order for that to be the case. So maybe it's just backwards. I mean, I don't think the programming's wrong. I mean, I think that for some reason this does it one way, this does it the other way. That's not completely uncommon, because in IMFD, what you would normally do for an outward burn in transx is reversed in IMFD, just because the programmer did the logic in the other direction. So in IMFD, instead of adding outward, you add inward, which makes all your burns backwards compared to transx. Anyway, it's just one of them things. So let me come over to maneuver, because it's been a little bit of time. Let me update. Let me reset the date. And I think everything will be fine at this point.
Translation, rotation.
Just get everything rotated. I'm going to go ahead and do this burn. I'm going to go ahead and leave maneuver mode on for now, but when I get down to like 1 meter per second, I'm going to turn maneuver mode off. See our relative inclination coming down as I would expect. Now it's going back up, but I'm going to trust transx. Now I'm going to turn maneuver mode off. Now, if I understand, my thinking is that hopefully, as we now fall toward the Earth, then we're going to get more in plane. If not, then I just didn't do this right at all. Target the ISS. We can see our inclination is currently 63.1 and our longitude of ascending node is currently 122.83. So as we get closer to the Earth, hopefully the inclination will go down and the longitude of the ascending node will go down a little bit. Alright, let's warp time forward. And that's coming down as desired, not necessarily as expected. That's coming down as desired. Okay, warp time forward a little faster. I also want to pay attention to the PEA. Okay, that's climbing. Not what I want. I need to be lower. Okay. Well, that one certainly isn't as big of a deal. Maneuver mode on. Bringing in the orbital altitude. I'm just seeing if we're going to have any impact on our inclination by doing that. It's kind of hard to tell what it needs to be. Go to view, grab projection. Okay, I don't think we need any plane change, but I do think I need a bit of outward because we're arriving when the ISS is on the other side of the planet, and I don't want that. Actually, I should say prograde. So we want to speed up our journey a little bit. Though it looks like if I use okay, I'm just trying to find the cheapest solution here. I think I'm going to go with that because that puts the ISS in front of me again. It's not too terribly expensive.
Translation.
Let's get rotated. Okay, now VW over to maneuver. And two things. We want to update and reset the date.
Rotation.
Oops.
Translation.
Trying to be fuel efficient and you overshoot. That's the opposite of efficiency. Okay, now maneuver mode off. And let's see what orbit MFD thinks our PEA is going to be now. 665. Now is that going down or going up? Still going up. Okay, well, it's not super far out, so we'll go forward a little bit further first. Let me bring up that on that side, that on that side. Inclination still going down. Okay, that was what I was curious about. Once we reach the halfway point, it's now going down. But it's not going to be enough. We're still going to have to do a bit of inward. I can't believe I'm still out by 6.97 degrees. Okay, we're going to reach periapsis at the same time we reach the descending node. So as we get into the atmosphere, we'll do our last little bit of plane correction. It just sucks that that's not closer to 0. Alright, now.
Rotation.
Okay. Okay.
Translation.
Now we need to do a bit of inward translation to bring the PEA down.
Rotation.
It's taking much longer than I thought it would.
Translation.
I think that will be a good altitude. I'm going to go ahead and quick save at this point and end this video
Rotation.
here for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't want any part to be too long, and I'm also experiencing some kind of lag here, so I'm going to exit out of orbiter and restart it. It happens sometimes when I'm recording that I'll start getting lag after a while. So if you have any questions about this part of the video, go ahead and leave those questions down below, and I will see you in the next part.